So the American defense grid is officially running out of bullets. The ammo is low and it's starting to cannibalize our allies in Europe, taking away their ballistic defensive missiles to bring them to Israel. This is leaving Eastern Europe vulnerable to Russian incursions, just so that America can spend a few more weeks saber-rattling and trying to destroy the infrastructure of a nation in the Middle East, destabilizing everything. Now, over the past 24 hours, Israel and the Gulf states have seen a major escalation in missile attacks from Iran, the biggest since the war had begun. Now, this, of course, is contrary to the statements by the U.S. media that Iranian military is actually running out. They're down 90%. But the thing is, the mass barrage isn't happening. It's becoming more targeted. And that's what we saw over the last 24 hours, especially zooming out of the Middle East and looking into Haifa, not Tel Aviv, but Haifa. Strikes coming from Hezbollah, backed by Iran, have really been successful in targeting the intelligence infrastructure of Israel. The goal here isn't the utter destruction of the cities. What they're trying to do is blind the system. The truth is the Iron Dome is cracking, and this is due to multiple reasons. But the biggest over the past 24 hours is what we saw in that missile strike. Now, the targeting itself, like I said, it isn't the civilian population. What it has been is the radar systems that make sure that the Iron Dome actually works in taking out these munitions coming from Iran and coming from Lebanon. So what they're trying to do is rip out the central nervous system of the arrow and David's sling by attacking its very architecture. Now, the corporate media talks about the Iron Dome like it's some magical defense, but it's not. It is vulnerable just like anything else is. And the thing about all the attacks that have been happening between Iran and Israel is that it has shown critical flaws in the defense structure, how it operates, how the interceptors actually go after their targets. And that is what Iran has been exploiting. So let's look at the cluster math, because America is essentially throwing gold bars at iron bars here. Now, the saturation tactic that Iran is using, they're using cluster munitions, which break apart into many other different smaller munitions. And this actually confuses the interceptor, the THAAD, whatever's being thrown up to take out that initial target. And what this allows to happen is not just the other cluster munitions to actually slip in. Most of those are anti-personnel, so they do target the population. But when it confuses the system, it allows one of the larger ballistic missiles to actually strike where it needs to strike. So you are seeing an increase of impacts in Tel Aviv and in Haifa. But the footage itself is very hard to see. It's hard to find because the propaganda machine in Israel is very hard at work to make sure that there's actually no footage leaking onto social media. And especially in the United States, as TikTok was transferred over to US hands, there's been a lot of questionable things about missing information regarding certain parts of this region. But we're firing a $3 million interceptor THAAD at a $500 bomblet. And the thing is, this is just bleeding the American taxpayer, because it is the US taxpayer who has to pay for this. And Iran knows, Hezbollah knows, the components of the defensive mosaic proxy strategy that Iran is using are successfully conducting this war on multiple fronts. Now, this is a very complex way of fighting a conventional warfare by asymmetrical means, and it's becoming very effective. We have to look at this like it's a street fight between the US and Iran, and the US is essentially throwing Rolexes at a swarm of bees, right? It's not really doing any damage, but it's costing us our children's future, our children's college funds. Every time a radar glitches, the defense contractor is going to go ahead and buy a new Rolls Royce or a new yacht. At the same time, the American public school system loses a school in an impoverished area. Now, because the interceptor and THAAD burn is really unsustainable, it's left America to try to supply Israel and the US in the region by cannibalizing the defenses that we've put to protect Eastern Europe from Russian incursions, really quietly ship them to the Middle East. So what we're doing to try to protect the interest in the territory of Israel, we're doing at the cost of the defensive capabilities of our European allies. And this is really becoming par for the course for how America operates with its allies, and it's one of the reasons why you're seeing Europe become really the hub for a weapons import right now, because it just can't rely on the US anymore. Because America has spent decades at this point telling Eastern Europe that America's there to protect it. We've been arming the border between these border countries and Russia, but the moment that things get hot in the Middle East, we end up ripping away those defenses, saying that we never actually promised them anything and leaving them to pay the bill. Again, enriching the U.S. military-industrial complex. It's pretty easy to see why this war is being fought, and the framing itself is really bothersome because now it's just out in the open. The mask has been ripped off and thrown to the side. This entire thing is about capturing the oil supply of Iran. It's not about regime change, not about freeing the people of Iran. In fact, we see daily mad rantings coming from the President of the United States right now on Truth Social, saying that if Iran does this, if Iran does that, they're going to see the greatest military strike ever seen, again and again and again. But the thing is, the Iranians have nothing to lose. They've already lost their supreme leader. They've elected his son, and they know that the U.S. is thirsty to take him out. The president has announced that he's willing to reduce the nation of Iran to rubble to the point where they'll never be able to stand up again. So what do they truly have to lose at this point? But on the other side, we have a president who's frustrated. We have a president who's not getting his way, a president who's used to getting his way. And he's a president who has everything to lose. Not a good position for the average soldier from West Virginia, the average soldier from Nebraska or New York City who still wants to come home at some point and go to college and live their life. We're already seeing casualties stack up on the U.S. side. There were reports of about 160 wounded Americans at this point, official reports of 7 soldiers who've lost their lives, and those numbers will only continue as Iran refines its ability to point out U.S. and Israel's weak spots and exploit those. The nations around the world are watching this, and the allies around the world are watching this, and they're realizing that the U.S. is bankrupt, it's stretched too thin, and will abandon protecting allied nations' airspace if another thing becomes more profitable to the defense industry here in America. Like I said, this war is costing the American people billions of dollars a day, and we really have to ask ourselves, at what price are we willing to say that enough is enough? At what point are our politicians actually willing to pressure the president to stop this, to let diplomacy take the place of ballistic missiles? Because as this goes on, and as inevitably more funds are going to have to be rerouted to this war, they're going to have to print the money to make that happen because the money's just not there in the United States anymore. Which means more of a devaluing of the American currency that's already on its way out as being the global reserve currency. The price spike in oil that's already hit but is going to escalate, is going to bleed into all other consumer necessities that people just need to live. And all for what? When we really zoom out and think objectively, what does the average American have to gain for this massive war that's being conducted in the Middle East right now? For the destabilization of a region that's going to take decades or generations to actually resolve? The fact is, it's nothing. There's nothing good about this for the American person. There's nothing good for this about American industry or the American household. The only people who actually benefit from this in the United States are the shareholders of oil companies, oil execs, and the industrial defense complex. But tell me what you think in the comment section. Let's get in there and really kind of talk this one out, because there's a lot going on and a lot moving, and too much that we're not actually allowed to say here on YouTube because the channel will get absolutely nuked. But like and subscribe as always. It really helps with the algorithm. Food for thought. Have a good one.